So today I'm talking with a former client who is still a current friend, Mary Jo Dean. And Mary Jo and I worked together several months, and now it's been several months ago because she's been in the middle of a transition that included a move and a new job and a whole new lease on life. And I'm going to be asking Mary Jo, first let me welcome you and thank you for doing this case study. And we're going to start off with asking you if you would share with people who are watching and listening, what was the particular challenge that led you to decide to work with me, or that you needed to work on your job search or career transition? What was going on with you when we first hooked up?
There were two particular challenges, actually. First, I was in the middle of a life transition. I work in churches, and one ministry was ending. At the same time, I was becoming an empty nester. And as I began looking for a new job, I realized that most of my job search skills and technical training were out of date. So I needed help specifically with things like LinkedIn and Monster and how to negotiate, getting my profiles up higher in a search engine. Had no idea how to go about doing that. When I would go to the county library or go online, I'm wading through tons and tons of information that's either 10 years old or not helpful because I don't have the requisite skills. So I really need somebody to help me bridge from where I was standing to where I really wanted to go, and Kitty was able to do that. I had also been working as a teacher, and I knew from 6 years in schools already that continuing in the teaching track was going to be a lesson in frustration. Children being wonderful, but surrounding issues not so wonderful. And in order to get my teaching credentials, I would have had to work for free for a year.
Oh, wow.
Who wants to do that in your middle age? So it was just time to forget that teaching thing and figure out what else I was going to do. And because I didn't have a great idea about what else I wanted to do, Kitty's life coaching was incredibly helpful to help tease out interests, skills, and also to stimulate my imagination about what things that were out there that would be transferable skills that I hadn't considered. Kitty has great listening skills and life coaching skills, and she truly is interested, and that's part of her personality, but it's also part of her teacher background. You have a million little kids circling your legs every day. You can't help but be engaged and enchanted by them, and she really loves people and likes to make a positive difference.
Thank you. That's true. I do. I often say I love my clients and feel so blessed to be able to help them in their life transition. So can you articulate an answer, an inspiration, or instruction that helped to get things turned around from where you were when you first came to me?
There were several, what I would call not necessarily turning points, but hinge moments or pivots. Mm-hmm. One of the things, because I was in a difficult congregational setting, was kind of just in a groove, and it wasn't a happy groove. It was like, if you're doing your best work and it still doesn't matter, and everybody acknowledges it's your best work and it still doesn't matter, where do you go from there? So Kitty was helpful and remains helpful in this regard. That I don't know if it's science of mind training or natural there's a behavioral model that challenges the way that we ourselves think about ourselves and challenges us to pay attention to our thought patterns. And Kitty has a really great propensity for positive reframing. And I was sharing with her an interview I had with a church recruiter, and because I was ordained as an intentional interim, I have very sharp skill sets for churches in transition, churches in crisis and conflict, and I've learned some secular things along the way. And Kitty said to me, she goes, you know, if you want to work in conflicted churches your whole life, you're the girl. But if you're tired of this, then maybe we should reframe your resume just a little bit. And not only did she suggest reframes, when I worked on it twice and I showed it to her, she said, let me take a crack at this and see if I can help you. And she redid my whole resume. I mean, I didn't pay her to do that, but she did it and it helped. So that was a really pivotal moment for me. And it helped me be clear that truly I didn't want to be the battle axe. I didn't want to be the plow horse. I wanted to be the generative person who could take a congregation from point A to point B and have fun with it. Right. And when I was finally clear that I was ready and hungry to have some fun with my life, it was amazing the doors that started opening at that point. And I have a lot of thanks for Kitty on that point. The other thing that was very helpful to me is listening to the other clients. On Monday nights each week, there's a didactic session that helps us figure out our PowerPoint skills and all the things that we need to know, emails and LinkedIn and whatever. But this didactic thing was very helpful because I realized I wasn't by myself or in any way unique right. in the thoughts and feelings and doubts that I was having. Everybody else was having them too. And it was very, you know, Kitty was a non-anxious presence and okay guys, it's fine. Just keep working through it. And we did. And I was very happy with the results because at the end of the process, I had 4 contracts on my desk. And I told each of the churches, I said, guys, if you want me, put your best contracts in front of me because I have to make some decisions in 3 weeks. And I was able to meet with all the churches, go to physically visit all these places, and I picked the best one for me. I've been here for 3 months, and I'm still having a blast. It's not without its challenges, but what fun is that, right?
Right.
I think the other results in learning that process, I've actually begun to realize I'm head and shoulders above other clergy because they're outdated now too, and I'm not. And people are paying attention to that in this presbytery, and I'm getting positive attention that I would never have gotten in my former presbytery. So anyway.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, there have been a few other benefits from working with Kitty as well. She's a pretty nifty writer, and from time to time, I don't think I'm actively a client now, but randomly I'm still on the mailing list. So stuff shows up in my email account.
It's every Tuesday morning you get a newsletter.
Well, let me rephrase. I randomly read them.
They're coming regularly. You randomly.
I sometimes I sit at my desk. I sometimes sit at my desk and eat my lunch and scroll through the emails. But you know, there was one about I think it was a $60 milkshake.
Yeah, 66. My $66 milkshake. That's been one of my most popular posts.
Yeah, well, that was more than a lesson in economics. It was a lesson in spirituality, and you know, that continued support that you didn't even ask for, that's just there. You know, I say all the time that God doesn't waste things, and I think things come to you when you're ready for them.
I believe that too.
So, you know, in that particular email blast, I admired Kitty's courage of clarity, and her risk-taking, and her valuing of self, because that's a really important thing for women to model for each other. So,
well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I'm a fan. Of course, I would recommend Kitty to anybody who's in a life transition, whether they're a teacher or a preacher or, you know, probably not a ditch digger, but someone who feels.
I do work with other types of folks I've had in the last few months. One former dean of a for-profit college who was bought out of her contract, and she's looking for something new, and started out working with an engineer who works for a major oil company. He was afraid he was about to be displaced because of a another reorganization, and it turned out they found a place for him. And so his wife, who is a former teacher, took his place in the program. But what you said about that bi-monthly meeting that we have, everybody has said the same thing, that it's so helpful to know that you're not by yourself, that there are other people, and they're all over the country. So it's not
Right.
it's a problem of the locality. Everybody across the country is experiencing various stages of discontent and burnout and just a sense of being ready for a new challenge. And finding that community is helpful to them.
Absolutely, but I think it's very fundamental about us. We are social creatures. Children, if they walk into a room full of mixed ages, will seek their own level. They will seek their own age group. Adults will seek their own age group. Senior citizens will seek their own age group. I see it every Sunday.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's very hard to get them to mix.
Yeah.
And I want them to mix. So, you know, when you're with your own cohort, no matter what that cohort is, there's much comfort in togetherness.
And sense of community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've pointed to this as nearly as often as I can, but the hard work that goes in behind the scenes that you do to help all of us comes out. And I'm not afraid to use religious language. I think this is your call.
I think so too.
You know, I think you're able to bridge some very difficult things with your usual cheerfulness and gentleness. And not to say, you're a pretty smart cookie. So you're very insightful, but you have a really lovely, gentle way of pitching things so that people aren't either overwhelmed or turned off by the situation in which they find themselves. And that is a truly blessed gift to offer the world.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And you're looking modest, but don't, because you have earned every bit of this.
I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for anybody who has a question about whether Kitty's worth it or not, take it from me, because I'm Sheenie from several generations back. Spend the money, because you're either going to spend it on the front end or the back end, and you might as well spend it on the front end to make the journey a little more direct.
Right, exactly. And it goes faster.
And as far as it goes, she's extremely competitive with her rates. So, you know.
That is also true.
And as I've said before, she's already done the over and above.
Well, and thank you for saying that too. I do try to overproduce, over-deliver, and
So do I.
under promise. I mean, because that's how you create credibility with
and value in your brand.
Yeah.
But